Hi guys. How are you? Good. Happy Friday. Did you know that? Are you guys aware of the ABA's visit that's coming like about a week from now? American Bar Association is okay. So every law school has an accreditation inspection evaluation once every 7 years called the sabbatical evaluation. So Mitchell, of course, is an accredited law school, and so now is our time to get a full visit and evaluation. And so you're going to see starting about a week from now for 3-4 days, there'll be 7 people, a couple of deans from other law schools, a few professors from other law schools, a judge, somebody else, who are here to kind of evaluate all aspects of the operation. And I know there are going to be some opportunities for students to go and meet with them and participate and share their experiences. So I encourage you to do that. It's quite interesting in the process, and I think there's no chance that anything's going to happen to our accredited status, but it comes at an interesting time because of all the criticisms of legal education now, and because of the economy, and so it's still just kind of a matter of something that's going to happen. But if you can take time out and meet with them, I think it could be extremely interesting. So watch out for that. And they'll be sitting in on a lot of classes. I feel certain that you'll all have some random person in the back row, and they're going to be looking for things like, is there any meaningful interaction between students and teachers in classes? Is attendance taken? Do people show up? That kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I just bring it up because I don't know. I'm a librarian, and the library is a big part of what's going to get evaluated, and the technology part. But it's really about the curriculum. So you can go and share what your experiences have been. I encourage you to do that. Have you all read the any of the articles in the Times, the New York Times, or the various other sources? Or are you kind of like keeping out of it, or have you been? You're aware of the. I went to the Association of American Law Schools conference in Washington, D.C., and everybody there was discussing whether legal education is in peril or not. Are you guys happy here? Do you feel like you're getting a good? Maybe I'm the wrong person to ask, and this is the wrong time. But I don't know. I don't mean, are you happy sitting in this class right now? I'm just wondering.
Because everybody is.
You saw the allotted debt letter, no doubt. There's a Twitter handle now called WM Problems that's irreverent and sometimes downright nasty. But I take that personally because it always has to do with temperatures or smells in the library. But it just seems like there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and the job market is tight. Do you have any thoughts about it?
I think there's a lot more skills courses at William Mitchell than there are in a lot of schools, and I think the skills courses are really important. I think one of the perceptions is that when students come out of law school, they need to be trained to be lawyers.
Yeah.
And I think the skills courses really help with that.
Definitely. Are there enough that you can, if you wanted to focus on clinical education, skills courses, externships, could you take everything that you want along those lines?
No, but I think that's an ABA problem with the rest of the curriculum, that you're required to take so many other courses.
I see. So many core courses.
Yeah.
Do you think that the core classes, I think, a lot of the 80-person classes are taught in a similar way, a lot of them using Socratic dialogue as they were generations ago. Does that work for you? There's one school of thought that says students are different now, so that doesn't make sense. But does it feel like a good way of learning for you? I know you have a thought about that.
Well, it worked really well for me. So
Just
I'm an observer. So, well, I guess maybe I shouldn't say it worked really well for me because I think that my professors were somewhat Socratic, but not overly so. I think when they focus on one student the whole time, that can be really negative because that student doesn't have a chance to take notes, and that student may not grasp the concepts enough to help the class move on to, and it's not. I don't think it's helping that student or the whole class. So I think in those situations,
sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's awkward, horrible. I've had some experiences like that. I do remember in my first year, I had the professor, just like a real nasty paper chase type of law professor, and I got called on for an hour, and it was, in some respects, it was overwhelming, scary, but then at the end of it, I felt like I had achieved something, and it felt incredibly good. And I think that was the first time I ever experienced something quite like that. So I think that was, so I think there's some good to
my
it.
brother is in a different law school. He's in his first year right now, and I've been kind of annoyed with what I've heard from him.
Why?
He has professors that require them to not only brief every case, but stand up and just read their brief. And so he was so concerned during first semester about writing briefs that he could read in class that he couldn't get through all the material because it's just an unreasonable amount of time to do that. And he would, as soon as he found out he wasn't getting called on for that case, he would stop paying attention and move to the next case and hurry up and try to write a brief for it. And
That's what I would have done too.
yeah, and for me, I stopped briefing after the first week because it was more
You can't keep up with that.
to make it through the material.
Have you guys ever heard the expression "flipping the classroom" before? There's the new one of the new ideas is that the professors should record their lectures in advance, and essentially that's kind of like the homework. Instead of assigning 100 pages of reading and then lecturing, it would be record your lecture, have students watch or listen to it, and then come to class and have the class be intensive discussion or practice-based stuff, like working through scenarios or drafting or whatever the thing is. I don't know if that's catching on or not, but there's a lot of talk about it. I kind of like that. I mean, I like to, yeah.
I'm a more non-traditional student. I've worked full-time law but I've been out of college and I've done my graduate school for a while. And I think for me, I see the difference in waiting until the law school versus going straight into undergrad. I think it's more beneficial because even if you're sitting in class and you're going over to library law, in the real world, it doesn't work like that all the time. And if you don't have that basis in the real world, say, I know what this says, but it doesn't really work that way, I think you're putting yourself in a bad situation to trying to find a job.
So you had a certain advantage.
I think it makes a difference if you already work.
And are you a part-time student?
I started off part-time
And then you switched to full-time?
but I've worked, I've been on undergrad for a couple months.
Would you have done kind of an online JD if it were offered? Or a partially online JD?
Possibly. I mean, there's some classes that I think you can probably figure out without one class. Honestly, the whole would be suggesting you only can work so many hours while you're full time. That is not something you can put off. You know, full time
Oh, you would agree
Yeah.
with that?
And I also have been a undergrad for a long time in grad school, and I have some friends in business school, and they talk about how you have to have worked. It's really hard to get into business school if you haven't had a long time of working. And so I kind of thought, from my experience, first year with the older students versus some of the straight out of undergrad students, I think there are plenty who can do it. And I think in business school, they still accept some advanced students because of their credentials, not necessarily because of their work experience. So maybe law school can do that, but I think maybe on average it is better to have the learning experience coming in, and maybe that should be a selection criteria.
That's a real good idea. And there's gradually, Mitchell was a night law school for most of its history, and then when the day program was introduced, which wasn't that long ago, like 1980 or something like that, late 70s, early 80s, it was tiny, and now it's way close to the part-time program. Part-time isn't really necessarily night anyway anymore, so and that could attract some more people to it. What about a 2-year JD? If you had a course of study that involved a mandatory 3-credit class in J-term and then a couple of classes each summer, and you could be done in 2 calendar years full time, would you do that?
Isn't Chicago doing that now?
There are like maybe, I think there are 3 law schools that are doing it. I can't remember. You're probably
Northwestern.
right. Yeah, Chicago sounds right.
Northwestern.
Northwestern, that's what it is. So Northwestern and I think Southwestern randomly is one.
But not Northeastern.
2 full calendar,
What's that?
2 full calendar years.
2 full calendar years, including summer and everything. Yeah,
I would too.
you would save money only. This is the way I imagine it. The cost per semester per credit would be the same. However, you get out in the workforce a year earlier, and then you don't have to borrow for living expenses for that extra year. So I'd say it's probably not as much savings as you might hope, but it's significant still.
Are you still allowed to work part-time?
I think so.
Because I think the work
I think it would still be the 20. Yeah. Well, so one way of thinking about that is, in fact, to say the summer experience would be a 4-credit externship, or maybe you could get some. You could be encouraged to do some part-time work for credit instead of just salary. So then you get the practical but I don't know. That's sort of on the table. You could suggest it to the site evaluators, maybe put some pressure if you want. Okay, thanks for indulging me. I just find that stuff real interesting. We'll see how it goes. All right, so last time I had a really bad banner image, and now I have a different really bad banner image. And I feel really awful about it. But so what can I say? I'll take another stab at it. It just seemed like such a great idea at the time. Oh, I got a keyboard, and then I can put I know it just looks lame. So I'm going to keep working on it. And but I wanted to talk to you. Okay, so thank you for the updates that you made to your websites. I think there are some very good ones there, and there's some with more challenges and opportunities for improvement. And what I've started adding some comments on the sites that I've looked at a little bit more carefully, and I will continue to do that. But if you have specific questions after today, you're having trouble with something, or conceptually you don't understand, or the technology's not working, let me know and I'll try to address those specifically. Otherwise, I'll give you just more in the line of general reactions. A few things that I saw in a lot of cases. I want to take a look at the dashboard. Maybe we should have taken a closer look at the dashboard earlier on in this process, because there's all kinds of stuff in here that affects what you can do and how your site looks, and they're important decisions to make. And I should say a lot of it has to do with playing around with the site, trying to figure out what you want to do, and making it work. It won't always be perfect, but you will get there. So if you start all the way at the bottom, and if you want to log into your own site and follow along, that's fine. If you don't, I'm recording this too, so you can go back later. One of the things that I see in some of the websites, if my blog is my site is called xyzlawfirm.com.wordpress.com, and that's what I've set up as my URL. It will populate automatically the site title, just like that one run-on word, XYZ site, XYZ law firm. Okay, so bless you. So if you go down to general settings, you can change your site title, obviously, to anything you want. The tagline right below site title is pre-populated with the phrase, just another WordPress blog or something like that. So your site is not just another WordPress blog. It's something much more exciting and special than that. So you should take that out for sure. There are some other pieces in here that you can poke through if you like. Under writing, I don't think this stuff is necessarily critical unless you're doing a lot of blogging. The idea that you're using categories. You probably read some number of blogs or websites that use tags or categories very heavily, and then that gives the readers a very easy way to navigate back through the site to find all of the posts and all the content that is on a certain subject. It also makes your blog posts more findable for search engines. But if you're not doing a lot of blogging right now, you don't have to worry about the default post category and so on. Size of the post box relates to how big the editor looks when you're just in the dashboard writing a new post. Under reading, you're going to want to take a quick look at, oh, right. I sort of forget about this one because my site, in my site blogs, the blog functionality is really important to me. So I want to have the latest thing up here. Like you can look at the recording and the slides from the last class. It's the chronological display of the blog posts, and that's something that I want on my home page. But you might just want a static page that doesn't work like that. So if you do, then on front page displays, you would want to choose a static page. And then you can choose whichever one of your pages you want to display as your home page, as your site's home page. Okay, you don't have to have any kind of blog-like functionality. Okay, discussion. I guess the thing that I want to mention here is that a lot of these settings that enable readers to post comments and replies and so on are turned on by default. And I'd like you to consider whether it's appropriate for you to do that. Or at least for particular pages, do you want people to be able to comment or not? For example, a great many of you have a page that's called practice areas or something along those lines. And then right at the bottom of it, there's a big box for people to write replies and comments. I'm not sure that it's relevant for the whole world to see what someone out there has to say about your practice areas. But if you have a blog page, or if you want to encourage interaction on some part of your site, then you would want to incorporate that stuff. So just be mindful of that issue, because I think that there's a lot of that Web 2.0 interactivity stuff that's in there by default because it's cool and interesting, but you ought to be thoughtful and intentional about what you want to do there. Okay, something about media. Oh, well, actually, I'll save that for a little later. Going down just a bit, under sharing, this is where, the latest social networks will pop in here. And again, do you want all of those icons that says like tweet this and dig that and whatever on a description of your law practice? Or is it something else that you want people to be able to share easily via social media tools? And so, and you can pick the ones that you want. You can add the descriptive terms next to it, or you could just use icons like this. But just kind of be thinking. And I guess I would just ask the question, do you want to, is there a place on a law firm, let's say it's a law firm blog, is there a place for social media on there? And in what way is it appropriate, if at all?
It can be a pretty powerful marketing tool.
A marketing tool.
Yeah.
So how would it work on your site?
On this side,
Yeah,
Well-
like say on the site that you're using.
well, there's there's a couple of Mitchell graduates who have a blog, and it's linked to their law firm's Facebook page. So it is to get your your firm's Facebook page, and then maybe link it to your website, then ask your friends to like your law firm's Facebook page, and then that'll link people back to the law firm's website. And maybe on the law firm's website, or maybe one of your friends has a will question, and that's a way to drive traffic towards your site. So,
Okay. So maybe the idea is to, if you have a blog section on your website, or lots of updates, that you would associate that with your firm's Facebook page or
Yes.
something. Okay. Well, and what do you think about that? Any other pieces of it, of the social media conversation? We'll talk more about social media in the next module, but yeah.
You see a lot of people on Twitter that will, in their practice area, you always see them like retweeting articles,
Yeah.
and then, in their description, they'll have like a link to their law office, and a brief description of like, I practice in estates and trusts, and then they'll retweet like, random articles and be like, hey, check out this article.
Yeah, that's good. My reaction to that is kind of like, if I'm on Twitter, I feel like I can sniff out sort of subtle marketing, and it annoys me. But I think there are a lot of people who do it, and I don't know. What do you think?
I think just from like the attorneys and stuff that I follow, it seems that a lot of them just are taking content from somewhere else
and they're posting.
and just reposting
That's a
it,
lot
which
of what
is
I do on Twitter too.
which like I feel like for me, not in a business capacity, but like I just pass over those, because it's like I'm not going to sit and read the article on my
You're
phone,
looking for something else.
because I never use Twitter on my computer. It's always like, oh, I'm standing in line at the grocery store. I'll check my, see
Right.
what's going on, but it's not like original thoughts from the people, versus like a lot of politicians I see actually have original, like,
Yes.
hey, this is what I'm doing, or
their public relations
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of along the same lines. It really depends on the type of one and the type of practice you're doing, I think. So, like, for example, if you you're a lobbyist, or some kind of administrative law, it might be helpful to have things like that. But Facebook page that you're trying to direct people to is another way to kind of get your name out there. I kind of don't see the point of having a lot of that. It's almost like much too public.
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't want to undervalue Facebook. I mean, maybe I do, but I kind of imagine if this is my site with a different banner, then what I might think of it as, it's kind of like my personal portal. Forget about Facebook. And if I have a presence on some social platform like Twitter or Google Plus, then I want to be bringing people in here, and I want to be promoting some of the things that I'm doing out there on the site. So it kind of goes circular a little bit. I don't know, I guess I just like the idea that this is something that I really control, and Facebook is something that is entirely external, and I don't trust them. Am I crazy? I don't know. No, I don't trust them. Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like a lot of people aren't gonna go to Twitter or Facebook trying to find an attorney. I mean, maybe people disagree, but I just feel like a lot of people that need attorneys aren't gonna be like, oh, I'll go do a search on Facebook for, DWI attorneys.
Yeah, it's all more indirect than that. It just. Are your friends talking about something that is related to what you do, and can you help in a way that's not directly soliciting, but still can bring people in one way or another? Or, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's not, if I need a lawyer for something, I'm not going to log first into Twitter and search for it. But sometimes it drives. Some lawyers say that they've gotten a lot of clients from social media. Sorry, yes.
I was just thinking, because I work for a corporation, what we talked about with social media last week.
Yeah.
I was looking at the use of social media with corporate counsel, and I actually found a lot of, I guess it depends on who your clients are, because I found a lot of information and surveys about how in-house counsel often finds their outside counsel through social networking, and more professional networking, but they're through social media sites.
So that's
so if
as
you-
critical as
Yeah,
working directly towards the client.
right. So maybe
Yeah,
you work
referrals.
with corporate counsel or something that are usually your target clients. Maybe you should use, LinkedIn more or something.
Go wherever they are, maybe, and make meaningful contributions. Okay, I like that. Okay. So, any questions about? Wait a second. Any questions about general settings down here and what you can do with them? All right.
I was going to add something.
Yeah,
If you go
please.
to the settings reading, Simon mentioned that if you want a static page, like your about page, or you can have whatever you want to call it, one page, if that becomes your front page, and you still want to have a blog, then where does your blog page go? Okay, so what there's a way around that, and I can probably demonstrate it later, but you actually have to create another page. Because you can see when you have a static page, you have both a front page choice and a post page choice. So if you choose something else to be your front page, you may have to actually create sort of a dummy page for your
You can't
blog
just
if you
leave
want
this.
to include that. And I can show you how to do that. It's quite simple, but
All right.
it's something that you can have both. You don't have to have one or the other. If you want to have your main page be a static page, that doesn't mean your blog has to disappear. It just can be on a different page that you set up and then link to that page. It's not hard to do.
Sean, I had a question about that. I did that with mine, and my static page as the front page is now, it doesn't have a title, because if I called it home, it actually put home down like right above the stuff
Yeah.
that was written on it.
As
Is
the
there a way
title
to,
of the page.
yeah, is there a way to get rid of that?
I know there's when you know how to write the code. I know WordPress.com doesn't apply. There might be something in the page when you actually go to that page. There might be a box that says display title or not. I don't know if there is.
Okay, I couldn't find it.
And if there's not, you might, instead of calling it home, you might use sort of a tagline that you would not mind seeing, sort of fudge that homepage.
Yeah,
Even though it's home, you're going to call it the blah, 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 blah from or Silpa welcomes you, something like that. That would be a way around, but I think you might be able to,
Do you want me to look at pages?
well, just like, is there a,
because my theme has whatever pages I come up with, they appear as tabs, and so if I didn't
Yeah.
call it something like home and gave it a tagline, it was like the tagline was the tab.
there might be a way around that in the menu, so I can probably look at that, but,
Okay. I mean, it looks okay with the blank, because then it just shows up as a blank tab.
blank space, yeah.
And it actually looks okay, but I just was wondering.
Yeah, I can look at that, because different themes have different things. If you're working on it behind the scenes, you just script it out,
Okay.
and that's pretty easy to do.
Okay, while we're here, a couple of quick points. Down at the bottom of the page, this is a page. Down at the bottom, at least for this theme, there's a show sharing buttons. If you don't want, if it's not an appropriate, post to LinkedIn, tweet this kind of page, then uncheck that. Something that Sean reminded me before is that by default, when you use this is the WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get editor. So you don't have to know HTML to write your website. And these are very familiar, no doubt, to you. It looks like, Microsoft Word or Google Docs. And this button right here provides you with another line's worth of kind of standard formatting options. And there's more you can do if you do know HTML. You see the two tabs here, visual, that's the WYSIWYG editor, and HTML, which is, there are very few of those kinds of things, but you can just add code. And this is where if you wanted to embed a video or something else, you would go to the HTML tab and dump it in. Or if you use Shutterfly or SmugMug or Flickr for family photos and so on, they'll have a way of embedding a viewer into your site, and you can do that here as well. It's somewhat theme dependent, but the concept is a page is this syllabus module, and these are subpages about the class and home and so on. Those are pages. A post is this content right here. You can find, if you want to create a new post within one of your pages, then you could go here and you can add new. And I'll show you just, here's an example, recording of class number 2, web design. And you can kind of see what that looks like. This is what the embed code looks like. It's very short and sweet, right from YouTube. That's where the thing is actually posted. Now, if you wanted to add media directly to your site, like a photograph or an audio file for some reason, or whatever it is, and you don't want to use an external service like YouTube, for example, or Flickr, and then embed it, you just want to put it right in the body of your post, then you're going to use these buttons over here. Upload, insert, and then you'd add media. So I don't know if I can find something really quick just to show you. I think here, let's say I just take this one and I'll add it, and then it will just let me insert it directly into the post. And you can center it and so on. Let's see. I think it's just still working because it's a big document. But anyway, yeah, share crunching. So you would hit insert into post and pop it in there, and there it is. Okay, and I add it and so on. Anyway, this is a nice way of kind of working images into the body of your site, and you can do things like add an image and then have text around it and so on, depending on what you're trying to do. Let's see if that came out okay in the website. Yeah, here it is, and there's the video below it. I went to in posts, and now why is this all icons over here? Oh, I see. All right. Do you see here under? Sorry, let's just go back to dashboard. Okay, in the dashboard, under posts, and then you would add new or edit an existing post and so on. One of the things you can see from this view, if you're interested in getting comments, and you can encourage comments or you can allow comments but not let the world see them until you moderate them, things like that. You can see kind of what's happening with your posts here. If there were comments, they would show up here. Like, I think there are a couple down here. Well, matter of fact, there are not. But that's where you would see them. Ah, yeah, here. So this must be, right, the future of the book. And some people have written in and said whatever they had to say. Okay. Users. For the purposes of this exercise in this class, it may not be relevant. It's just you as the administrator of the site and the author of all of the content and the editor. But if you wanted to add authorized users, and you can give them different permission levels, you could do that. So this is something you might want to do if you had a small, like a two-person practice, or you had whatever it is, and you had administrative support, you'd want to give them some amount of permission, either as co-administrators of the site or as authors or whatever the case may be. You can add them there, and that's very useful too, depending on what you want to do. This is also good if you want to have like a family website. Not that you would want to do that, but you could. Under appearance, this is the other thing that I would say is most problematic about the websites that I've seen from this class so far is that most of you, not all, but most of you are at this place where you've got some content here, and then you've got whatever widgets are the default widgets, and then some of them say login. Some of them have a search box. Some of them have recent posts and categories. I think it's important that you thoughtfully consider what you want in this space on the sidebar or wherever that space may be. And you have lots of options. Part of the options, understanding the options, is thinking about your theme. Okay, so I am using a theme called Coraline. I think a couple of you also are. There are others that, oh wow, look at that Vertigo theme. That's very interesting. So let's see what this would look like
Probably
on
not
Vertigo.
appropriate for a law firm.
Certain kind of law firm. Wow, that's pretty bad. Actually. Yeah, I'm not going to do that right this second. So part of it relates to theme options. So if you look at your theme options, whatever theme you've chosen, you can see some of them are very basic, and it is what it is. This is the layout of your site. But there are important considerations here. For example, I have a theme And I've chosen multiple widget areas. You can see these are separate content areas. Or you could choose to have it on the left side or the right side, or one on each side, or none. These are going to control the way your widgets work. Once you've made that decision, you choose the widget subsection. And I think, I showed you this a couple weeks ago a little bit. You can see under available widgets all kinds of choices for things that you could decide that you want to add to your website. One option is to say, I don't care about any of that. And maybe what you want is just a regular website with some content and a photograph in there, and that's it. And then you don't need any other kinds of stuff. But almost all of the interactive components of a website, the ways that you would interact with other people or other websites, would come from widgets. So the way that it might work is, for example, RSS is technology that would pull information from any other website you want, pretty much. The latest legal news, your tags from a social bookmarking site, something from Twitter, something from wherever it is, CNN. It may not be relevant for you in this context, but it might be. There are links. So, for example, some of you have created separate pages that are for other resources of interest. That's good. Another approach you could take, if you want, is to put them in a widget, like I have done here. So these are the class sites. These are your websites, which I've linked. They come in a widget. It's called links. And you're going to want to take a look at your theme and find the widgets that make sense to you. Just for example, if you had multiple authors on a site, you could display them in a widget. If you have, if you use categories for your blogs, you could display them there. There's interacting with Flickr and Facebook. Other sites, Goodread, Meebo is instant messaging. There's a certain amount that you're just going to want to play with, I think, and think carefully about what makes sense for your topic, for the audience you're trying to reach.
I point out text is a really nice one.
This one right here. Yeah.
Let's say you have a page and you want like a sidebar, sort of like a, it's not a tag cloud kind of thing, or it's not a social media. You basically want to write a little sort of aside text that you can write anything you want in there, so you're not really controlled. It's basically a blank box that you can fill out with anything you want, and it's much more helpful than putting some other things. So it really gives you here's your main text. You might want to put contact information on a sidebar so it appears on every page. But you can do that in that text one, and I can show you guys how to do that if you're interested. It's quite easy to do. But you're not controlled by sort of these prefab things. You can write whatever you want there.
That's right. Exactly. So, questions about widgets? I think you need to play around with it a little bit, figure out what each one does, and try. Yeah.
Can you talk like kind of what different what footer widgets? What's going to look like?
Yeah, sure. This is theme dependent. So depending on what you have, you may have something that's a primary widget area, and that's it. Right. It just depends. So let's say I want to put something in the feature widget area. I'm not 100% sure I know what the heck that is. I think that it's sort of on the top of the two.
It should say.
Oh yeah, above the sidebars. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there should be some text there. So let's say I want to put, I'll put a calendar of blog posts there, and I want to call it dates.
I was gonna say calendar.
No, that's too easy. So we'll do dates and hit save. Always remember that's I never seem to remember to do that, but you have to hit save right there, and then you can go and quickly take a look at what that means. And here are the dates. So this evidently what it tells you is on the hyperlinked dates are actual posts. That may not be very useful. There's other ways to do calendars, creatively. This would be an interesting place to put an image of some kind. One thing that I might do is I might get rid of this banner and put just an image here, and then everything else moves up. That's a possibility.
One of the ways, like if you have a lot of those widget areas, and you're like, even if the explanation doesn't make sense, just grab something like
try
a
it.
calendar and throw it in there, and you'll see where it shows up, and go, oh, that's where it is.
Yes,
And then just yank it out again.
that's what I
Because
do.
really, is trial and error is the best way to do it.
Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of this. And that's, I think, what typically happens with these footer widgets and stuff like that. It's either going to end up kind of on the bottom of your posts, or it's going to end up literally in the very, very bottom of the page. One of the things that could be useful is like to put, a link to log into your website. If you can't remember how to do that, you can just put like an admin login somewhere and go into footer widgets, bury it down there, but you know that it's there. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is let's take a 10-minute break, and then when you come back, we'll have a chance to try some of this stuff out with your own site. We'll get feedback from Sean and myself and a few other things. So, see you soon. Referrals, and I think but you're not going to get any of that if you're not contributing something new. I don't think you're going to get many referrals on the basis of just a static website. You may appeal to certain kinds of potential clients with a static website, but I don't think you're not going to indirectly affect your reputation among your peers that way. Anything else?
I think depending on what kind of fee structure you have, you might be able to post fees if you're small practice.
Yeah, and more and more that might be a good differentiator. People are looking for it, they care about it, and very few law firms put that kind of stuff out there. I think unless it's a contingency type arrangement in general terms. Anything else? Yeah.
Maybe news or media.
Okay. Like you or maybe your cases or your clients or something like that are getting some kind of positive attention. You're going to promote them here. I think this is a good one, and I think also, or something like this, or law firm news. Even if it's sort of PR, like, maybe a note that so-and-so working at the firm is presenting at a CLE on whatever, or those kinds of things can be archived in a separate page, and then they can be fed into your homepage with a widget, like an RSS widget, from within your site, because those perhaps are announcements that anybody going to your site would be interested to read. They're really promotional. Okay, that's good. And media is great because it's some of the stuff that if there's video, that's a nice way to make your website feel more, or I don't know, bit contemporary or something. I mean, multimedia appeals to some people, I should say. So, all right, think about these, think about others, and start working again. Sean and I are going to circulate and see if we can help you through some of this stuff. We also note that the assignment, the final assignment for this module is here in the syllabus, and it includes your finished website and a short essay about web design, taking into account some of these things that we've been talking about, taking into account the presentations, all of which are up on the website if you want to review them. If you need extra source material, you'll find it in the bookmark links. It's linked here on the syllabus and also on the homepage of the site, my site, the class site. So, yeah, this is just an opportunity for you to memorialize what you think are the important features of web design, and as demonstrated, I guess, in the website that you put together. Okay, so let's start. Let's work on it. Oh, and you might. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sure.
Do you know if we get a discount for Photoshop?
Not by virtue of our
Agreement.
with an agreement with William Mitchell, but I know that there is an educational Photoshop license. It's, what is it? It's still expensive.
I think regular Photoshop's like $5 or something.
Yeah, so it's probably more than $2 years. And isn't there a decent alternative for
I don't know. There's a bunch out there. I heard what they sign.
This way,
I mean, there's still like the same process.
I was wondering how to add a sub.
okay, what you need to do is add a page.
I don't
and
think
then you go
so.
here
We should
and make
look at
this,
that again.
like for instance, you create a new page, if you want to be a
Because,
sub-page.
we
And
do
you
have
put
our
this here
license
as,
with Microsoft.
grab,
Mhm.
you can do the
And
drop down
that's
here.
very useful. And I think that
Then
we
you choose
just
the page you
haven't,
want it to be a sub-page of. Okay.
we haven't felt like Adobe had the same kind of penetration to really pursue it. So,
Yeah.
but we could.
I used I had the long time ago.
You could dig it up, maybe see it.
These are the ones you see.
Well,
Or is it just
maybe I
like
just yeah, I just it was up 2 computers ago. And I don't even know how. I think it became 3 volts or something.
if I see anything out there, I'll let you know. I would just say sometime I saw it's $1.
Yeah, because I don't see them that way in China. Journalism school needs to do, and she got it was like $99, but it was like I think it was like subsidized the program, and I would double that I just added just because like there's not a high.
And you're just speaking of Photoshop, not the full, whatever it's called.
It's not done yet. I don't
Oh,
think.
yeah, we're going to go to, but it, yes.
Did anyone else not get the attendance?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get some.
Yeah.
Things are, I can write the comments.
Yeah.
Well, there's three. So what is your homework? widgets only go in the widget areas, but there are ways that you say you put your search there.
I did.
You can, you could use
Yeah, I think it makes some of those
so you can use Google Calendar, but I don't know if it's that's a totally great question, and it's something that I've struggled with too. There's some pages that
Yeah, I know.
really want
Yeah,
here that's actually a text box, the big post boxes. I just would prefer to have widgets. Different sizes, but I don't think you can do that. The best you can do is
It's one of those things like, oh, if I'm looking at Twitter, it'll show up.
you could you have a Google account, so you could go to Google Calendar and start using it. And then if you wanted to display something like that, you could embed it in HTML so you can post. Yeah, now remember the calendar. This calendar widget is different from what I was just describing. What I was describing is more like an Outlook calendar where everything's there. It's more like these are the things that I do where I have to do.
Oh, no, I give you something.
Yeah, but the site calendar, stuff like that. So it's just like this
Yes. One's actually, let's say, take I mean, just surprised it's a foot.
Oh, I can take contact.
But even if footer is still showing, it really shows it down there. That's why, because that's our, yeah.
Oh, that's the sharing. So they're sharing.
No, I wonder if it's the theme structure that's built into it. So I'll do it. Yeah, I think that's just this space. So we got something about.
So it seems, it doesn't seem like this, but he said it's more this one.
It almost looks like that hat.
So can I see what it looks like? Are you actually talking about?
This, it's really a nice thing where it'll show up there. Pages, which are pages.
If you
And what page
say what
are we looking at? You see that every page. Oh, what's wrong?
I changed the phone.
Oh, you did, okay, so go to the services page, or, so it's on every website. So really less than page five, so if you go to pages and just click on any one of these pages, and do the edit. I have a feeling this is just a, I mean, it might not be, but yeah, I'm not just, that's, I don't know, that, it might be just, you know, when I do these items, it's just, you know, so.
Yeah, I just was curious about that.
Yeah, I cannot figure out what it is. So, yeah.
Hey, Sean,
Yeah, quick question. Yeah.
do you know how to, it must be in the settings, so, this, this box, it gives you this, okay, let's just, let's do this.
This doesn't even change the additional. Okay, then you go into comments.
It's not into comments.
Oh, no. Well, it's not.
So
go into comments, so the reply
Is from
Just rename.
the Turner sharing options.
He would do the comments page, or is it? Oh, no, sorry, go into, here it says. Initial settings, done, settings, and now.
That's where we were in discussion.
Discussion.
And there's a people to post comments.
But that would be wrong.
Yeah. I have to check it. It's in there somewhere.
Well, the other thing is, it depends on the issue with using the some of the pages in the and you don't get the option to do it. And the same way you would just use like
This is very interesting.
sample practices.
So maybe the thing to do in this case is just to allow them to apply, but to try to make sure that all comments are moderated so they'll. Nice. Yeah, go to, yeah, go into
You still with
and now go to 10 pages.
changes. Change it.
Page one.
It's because they were doing this. It's
Go to edit.
It used to be new content. They were through
Yeah.
because they didn't want to share with, they would improve some things because they're really trying to.
Now that's just we should be saying that
I use the but the way we actually have to do it. Yeah, it's the same backend software, but they just sort of customize it. Sort of like it's
yeah, that's actually the issue that we're addressing. I think there's a better way to
You may
pull
not-
that out, but I'm not sure. When I find out, I'll post it.
How to feed this to it.
nonsense.
I'll do this, so I've got my folder, right?
Okay. So if you right click on that.
Yeah, I think that's an issue that, this gives you, in real life. Your big law, right, your level, you would be able to
Is there a right click?
and it's,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
an issue.
Oh, yeah, it's control, no, it's control.
There's an issue as well. There was just
Okay,
hard
no,
to
no,
it's sort of, in the real world, you just.
hold on, let me find out. Because I don't- Hold on, let me find out.
Yeah, you would have like their cameras would use the data you post. And the thing is, like, you would use this, you're gonna post, you can use these forms, that pretty much, like, do the. That's all. You see, that's sense creates databases. So, in the real, you can easily do that. And you can create like a form box, technical, all that kind of stuff. Very easy. Very limited. Well, okay, I would say that one that runs it was like my thing is I was kind of walking. It was like